On the little Zoom breakout room who doesn't live in Bloomington anymore but attends the meetings virtually. I think he was a physician. He's retired.
Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service. I'm Tracy Ivanovich, and I'm pleased and honored to serve as your president. Our thought for the day comes from Audrey Hepburn. For beautiful eyes, look for good in others. For beautiful lips, speak only words with kindness. And for poise, walk with the knowledge that you are never alone. I was pretty amazed that she said that. For our reflection today, past President Sarah Laughlin, could you come up and share your reflection? I'm on a roll. I think I waited till her mouth was full as well.
Linda Murray asked me to step in for her today. We're trying to do something with where the past presidents talk about the past successes of this club, since we have so many new members who weren't around for some of these things. So I think my job today is talk about some of the community service highlights in the club over the years. And of course, our motto is service above self. So arguably community service is the very core of our mission. And over the years, we've done things in several different ways. And first, I'll just mention a couple of, every year we have an opportunity to apply for district grant. And that is a matching grant. When I first joined the club, the big hurdle in the matching grant process was our match, because we didn't have a very good service project or a very good fundraising project. We didn't ever know if we could actually match the money. But after we started the Rotary Toast, every year we've had more than enough to match the district grant, which is wonderful. And so we submit an application about a project that we believe is important and sustainable in our community. And we set about, we wait for the district to decide to fund the grant. Then we wait for RI to give their approval to the grant. We're right now waiting for this year's. It's usually early August. I haven't heard one way or another. We know we've got $3,000 coming from the district. We're just waiting for the RI to approve it. But over the years, we've done all kinds of things with those matching grants. So I just want to point out a few of them that you might see as you're driving around town. One is the sunshade at Mills Pool on the west side, just by Tri-North, or by the middle school. Yeah, Tri-North Middle School. One is the sunshade at Fairview Elementary on the near west side, just down the street from Teachers Warehouse. We've done gardening projects. We repaired a fence at Powell's, which was quite an undertaking, taking the old fence out. They regraded to make the drainage better. We put the new fence back in. That's when we learned how hard it is to line up a fence every post in a row and get the wires to come out even. That wasn't easy, but it was very much fun for us. This year's project is a little bit different. It is My Sister's Closet. They're building a bike rack because so many of their clients ride bikes to get to the closet, and parking is tight. And instead of having just a bike rack, this is a women's history bike rack that's talking about the suffragette movement. So it's tied into My Sister's Closet. It's tied into the Women's History Project. It's going to be really cool. It's a piece of art, actually. And so our job is going to be to help install that bike rack, and not to make it, but to install it, and also to host the grand opening for it. Couple of years ago, we did the Lake Monroe project. Some of you will remember that. Water cleanup, water and clean water and sanitation are Rotary priorities around the world. And so we were working on Lake Monroe, cleaning that up and measuring the cleanliness of the water and helping in some other ways. Some of you probably remember that one. The biggest projects that I remember are, of course, Teachers Warehouse. Many of you have been there and have volunteered. Some of you probably haven't. I encourage you to come by sometime because it's probably our most enduring, long-term, successful project that we've ever done, undertaken in 2004, which was Rotary International's 100th anniversary. And we started Teachers Warehouse. It's an independent 501c3 nonprofit, completely volunteer powered, no staff. And the first year we served 75 Title I teachers in Monroe County schools. Last year, I believe the number was 1,200 individual teachers, 2,500 visits to Teachers Warehouse, and close to $500,000 worth of free school supplies for them. And Sue Cole likes to describe it now as, we're kind of adolescents. We're pretty independent. We love being independent. We still need a little pocket change from time to time. So every once in a while, we come back to the Bloomington Rotary Club and say, can you help us with the supply drive? This year, we had a record-setting supply drive. Thank you all really much. And please come and visit sometime. I think we're maybe going to have a meeting there sometime this fall, so y'all can get a tour. It's kind of an amazing place. And the other big project I just want to remind you about is our own centennial project. I don't remember what year that was, 2018. And that was 100 years of our Rotary Club, and we committed to funding a playground at the Boys and Girls Club, $100,000. And I'll tell you what, that was a struggle for us. We looked under every rock to get to that number. But at the end of the year, we ended up with enough to fund the playground, plus enough to add some to the Teachers Warehouse endowment and the Rotary Club endowment. So we kind of blew the top off of it after biting our fingernails all year. So those are just some of the things that we've done in the community. And if you want to see the whole list, I do have it. And I'd be happy to share it with you. We enjoy making long-term sustainable impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And Winston Schindel, could you come up, please, and introduce the guests? Winston, AKA Dad.
We're privileged to have several guests with us today. And so as I call your name, would you please stand so that as a group we can recognize you? First guest is Chaz Patrick, who happens to be with the Vincennes Rotary Club. Chaz, would you please stand? He has two guests that he has brought, Trent Holes and John Houchin. Welcome, welcome. Our next guest is Meshla Kumar, a guest of Liz Feidel. Jim Mahady, a guest of Jeff Richardson. Jacob Wood, the grandson of Marilyn Wood. And David Sabah, a guest of Judy Schroeder. Welcome to all of you. And if you're interested in Rotary, talk to the person at the table and we'd be glad to welcome you back. Leslie, do we have any guests online? That's a no. So welcome.
All right, we have a couple of birthdays this week. I saw one of them in here, Lauren Snyder and Maggie Sullivan on the 9th. And then for anniversaries, we have Steve Engel for 13 years, Megan Nace for 8 years, Bill Oates 36 years, and Mark Peterson for 1 year. Congratulations. And now I'd like to ask Yolanda and Mike Baker to come up for a very special Paul Harris Award. And I'll see if Mike can figure out what this little treat is all about.
What did you want me to figure out? This? I'm afraid to guess that's not me this time. Oh, that. Okay, that means 3 minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. In 1905, Paul Harris founded Rotary with 3 business associates in Chicago. Fellowship was established in his honor in 1957 to express appreciation for a contribution of $1,000 to the humanitarian and educational programs of the Rotary Foundation. Those programs include an array of projects that save and invigorate the lives of people around the world. The Paul Harris Fellow is Rotary's way of recognizing those today who have contributed $1,000 to Rotary International. Today, we have 3 Rotarians to be recognized. The chair of our foundation committee, Yolanda, is going to help me with Lauren Snyder, Lynn Schwartzberg, and Marilyn Wood. Please come up. Don't look at me that way. Anyway, Lauren Snyder, the original piece of work. Member of our club since 2009, member of the Franklin Rotary Club. Before that, past president of the Franklin Club, and then president of our club in 2018 and 19 after he organized a coup to dethrone me. Prides himself on his selection of socks. Okay. Loves sports, practical jokes, always has support for the Rotary International Foundation and our club foundation. Today, Lauren will receive his Paul Harris Fellow Plus 7. Lynn? Lynn Schwartzberg is receiving her Paul Harris Fellow Plus 1. She's known as the foodie of our club, always willing to try out a new recipe on our members when she has the opportunity. She's been a solid member of our foundation fundraising efforts over the last few years, and it's likely pinned more members with the Paul Harris Fellow pin than anyone. She's been a member of our club since 2007. Marilyn Wood is receiving her Paul Harris Plus 1 pin today, member of our club since 2015, totally active in club activities and service projects. And like Sarah Laughlin, she retired as executive director of the Monroe County Library. She loves to bake and drives a hot black convertible. Her high school boyfriend had one and she never forgot it. Him apparently forgotten. So in Rotary, we value individuals who exhibit strong leadership, a commitment to service, and dedication to the betterment of society. Please join me in recognizing these 3 Rotarians. I'd rather have her do it than Okay, please rise and join me in celebrating these 3 new Paul Harris Fellows.
I had threatened Mike that he told me he was going to only take 20 minutes. I said, Peter Pan's alligator is tick-tocking away. So I had to share that little alligator for him. You did a good job, Mike, as always. Okay. And on that note, I'd like to ask the man with the cool glasses, Henry Leck, to come up and introduce our program.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. As an alumnus of the Jacobs School of Music, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to you our current dean, Abra Bush. She is the Jacobs School of Music David Henry Jacobs Bicentennial Dean and Professor of Music and Voice. In her 3rd year, Abra is the first ever woman dean in its 100-year history. She previously served as the Senior Associate Dean of the Institute of Studies at Johns Hopkins University, Peabody Institute. She was the first woman director of music division at Boston Conservatory, and she served as the Assistant Dean of Academic Affairs at Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. She has also taught voice, diction, and opera theater at Concordia College and Kenan College. She's originally from our neighboring state of Ohio. She earned her Bachelor of Music and Master's degrees from Oberlin College of the Conservatory of Music, and her doctorate is in the musical arts degree from The Ohio State University. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Bush.
Good afternoon. It's such a privilege for me to be with you today. I only regret one thing, and that is that it has taken me a little over 2 years to get here to be with you. The invitations kept coming and my calendar was just packed. But now that I'm with you today, I am absolutely delighted. I send you greetings from a fellow Rotarian, my sister. She's a Rotary member in Columbus, Ohio. And when she found out I was joining you all today for lunch, she was very excited. So thank you again for that invitation. I thought I would spend a little bit of time today talking about the School of Music for those of you that are unaware of what we do over there. in the Musical Arts Center and on the southeast side of campus. I had to get my bearings. And then tell you a little bit about how we engage in community, both here locally within Bloomington and the state of Indiana, but also globally as well, because I know those are some of the key factors for the Rotary Club. So that's what I thought we would do today. Here we go. Right. And look, and then we'll do an overview of the opera and ballet theater season, because I want to make sure that you know all the great stuff that's going to be happening this year. So the Jacobs School of Music is a little over 100 years old. It, until the late 1940s, was really a sort of your run-of-the-mill state university music program. It had a great band by all accounts, and it was quite small. It had a marching band and a regular band. It was a great school for music education. But in 1947, Herman B. Wells hired a chap from University of North Texas, which at the time was the largest music school in the country. His name was Wilfred Bain. In fact, Professor Bain's signature stamp still resides in my desk. I sometimes think, what could I use it on, right? But he came in 1947, and his charge was to establish a world-class opera program. It turns out that Herman Wells was a lover of opera. And as a result of that, Herman got tired of driving to Chicago to hear world-class opera, and he demanded one here in Bloomington. And so that is the foundation on which the entire school rests today. We have a little over 1,600 students from all 50 states and as many as 55 countries around the globe at any given time. You'll note that is the largest classical music program in the country today. We have far exceeded UNT. In fact, their dean and I have a little running thing that we do. How many do you have this year? How many do we have this year? It's a very global community. About 30% of our students are from Indiana. About 35% of our students are international students, and the rest are domestic non-residents. So I can't even imagine how many languages I hear in the building in any given day, although a lot of our international students are from China, South Korea, and Taiwan now. About 175 full-time faculty members, most of whom are world-class artists in their own right. They're out concertizing a lot. They're on the road. I never know where they are. They pop up everywhere, which is actually a pretty cool thing. We give a little over 1,100 performances a year, most of which are completely free and open to the public. We love it when you come just hang out with us in our hall or in Ford Hall. We love to see you there, whether it's a bassoon recital or a string quartet concert. We also love to see you at the opera, but there's so much that goes on in any given week that we just love to see people there supporting our students as they perform their concerts and recitals. We have 7 buildings in total. It's essentially the footprint of a small liberal arts college in some ways, the Jacobs School of Music. And you can see a number of different kinds of spaces that we have, including some very large spaces for rehearsals, dance classes, and things like that. Our music library is truly one of the finest in the world, but it is one of the 2 largest in North America. I say that because the Eastman School of Music also has the other library that competes for this title. And it just simply depends on who bought the most monographs in any given year. So we kind of go back and forth, but it's a healthy rivalry with Eastman. And we're very, very proud of everything that we have accumulated in that space. In addition, we have more than 18,000 living alumni all over the globe. It is shocking when I am in Asia or in Europe or South America to see the alumni come out of the woodwork. They populate all of the major international orchestras, choirs, opera theaters. Our alumni are out, they are leaders in the symphony and orchestral spaces. They're conductors, they're composers, they're doing all kinds of miraculous things. And we're very, very, very proud of them and all that they do. You can see we have a broad range of collegiate programs. The one that I want to point out that is the newest, actually, and is exciting for me, is what we're now calling music industry. Music industry has hereto been what we call our audio engineering program. It's got renamed to audio engineering renamed to music industry, and now includes music production as well as music business. two new programs that are launching in the fall of 2025. We've just hired the inaugural faculty for those. They're incredibly impressive. And we're looking forward to welcoming a new kind of cohort of students that A, do not have to audition for the School of Music, and B, are able then to turn their degree programs into real jobs when they leave, as opposed to the standard performing musicians who very likely are going to leave and have some kind of life in the gig economy. So these are new programs for us, and we're very excited to watch them launch in the year ahead. So now we launch into some of the things that are going on in the community. We have a group of programs that used to be sort of a loose-knit collection of non-degree granting programs, children's programs, et cetera. We now call that the Jacobs Academy. And you may know Dr. Brenda Brenner. Brenda is in our music education department. She runs the Fairview String Project. Brenda has sort of taken on that group of programs and has organized them and made them something so that we can kind of better grow that program, both within Bloomington, but also outside of the state of Indiana. So you may know that we offer year-round programs in music and in ballet. This actually is one of the photos. My executive assistant, her kids are in this picture. So it's really, these programs are open to everybody, from children through lifelong learners. And we teach literally hundreds of people every week in these subjects. In addition to that, there are a number of summers only programs. These include things like the IU Summer Music Clinic, which just celebrated its 75th year. It brings students from all over Indiana to Jacobs in the summer to study music with world-class faculty. The String Academy, run by Mimi Zweig, which is legendary. We literally have children move to Bloomington from all over the world to study with Mimi, and they then become artists like Joshua Bell and others that are populating some of the major orchestras in this country. And then also academies in composition and piano and guitar and so much more that goes on in the summers in particular. This past year, through the help of a donor, as well as a grant from the Provost's office, we're able to start what we're calling the Jacobs Academy Virtual Academy. This is an opportunity for our students to sit at the Jacobs School of Music and teach virtual lessons throughout the state of Indiana, as well as in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. In the spring semester, it was a pilot project. We taught 70 students in 4 counties surrounding Monroe County. And we're hoping to expand that to 3 or 4 additional counties in the semester ahead. We teach 70 students every week in the DR and Haiti as well. And we partner with the Hamilton Luger School to do the translation services for those students, because most of those lessons are in Spanish. I'm excited about what this means for the future of the school. So not only are we able to meet students where they are in their school buildings during the school day to study music at a higher level, but we're also then able to think about what that means nationally and internationally too. You may not know that we have an orchestra for lifelong learners, we'll call you. This is an opportunity for folks who are adult beginners through adult musicians who just want to have a good time to pick up the instruments that maybe you put down your senior year of high school and start to play again in an organized way. This is run by a woman named Audrey Williams, who was one of my advisees at the Eastman School of Music. I'm very proud of her. And this group meets, I think, about once a week. They have retreats. They're having so much fun. I actually have been thinking about trying to figure out how to play the cello, which I don't do. But if I did, I would do it in a group like this, because they're having a ball and learning together and working together and having little concerts along the way, and a very low stress situation. At least low stress, I think. It would be probably high stress for me. There are also opportunities for ensembles for young people, and so much more. Okay, this is a video of a project that Alan Barker has been very involved in that I wanted to share just a couple minutes of with you. It's called the Carnival of the Animals Active Listening Project. We, through a land support, the Center for Rural Engagement, and some additional resources, again from the Office of the Provost, we hired a number of students to record 5 movements of the Carnival of the Animals. We then had a faculty member in music education, Brent Galt, who you'll see on this screen, who put together a curriculum around each of those movements. We then used IU Innovates. Is that what we used? IU Innovates to partner with us to get these online so that teachers throughout the state of Indiana can access them this academic year. The expectation is they will be free to teachers in the state, but then we'll monetize them outside of the state. So if you live and work outside of Indiana, you got to pay for this. In the meantime, this is free content for all of our students. So
By
we'll have
keeping a
Tyler go
beat.
ahead and hit send.
Keep a beat and listen to me. Watch the panther, see the tiger, listen to the lion roar. Watch the panther, see the tiger, listen to the lion
This is part of the
roar.
melody of this particular.
Wonderful. Now it's your turn to learn this. We're going to echo. So I'm going to speak one line at a time, and then it's going to be your turn to say that line with me. When you hear the drum, that's your cue to say the line with me. So I'll go first. Are you ready? Here we go. My turn first. 1, 2, me, then you. Watch the panther, see the tiger. Watch the panther, see the tiger. Listen to the lion roar, your turn. Listen to the lion roar. Watch the panther, see the tiger. Listen to the lion roar. Now you watch the panther, see the tiger. Listen to the lion roar. Great job. Let's say the entire rhyme together, keeping a beat. Get your beat hands ready. Keep a beat with me. 1, 2, here we go. Watch the panther, see the tiger, listen to the lion roar. Watch the panther, see the tiger, listen to the lion roar. You did that so well. Now let's see if we can say it again, but this time we're going to tap the way the words go. In music, we would call this the rhythm.
That's good. So you get the idea. He starts to build on the rhythm. He starts to build on the melody. And then there are all these little hand gestures that go along with it. And each time, this is the lion movement. Each time the lion roars, you do this whole thing where you roar. And so everybody is active and involved and learning about rhythm and meter as they go. This all aligns with Indiana state standards on music education. So we know that this is going to be useful in the classrooms. And I'm excited again for the children in the state to have an opportunity to have high class instruction from the faculty of the Jacobs School of Music as part of what they do. You may not know that 51% of the credits we generate, meaning 51% of the money we earn at the Jacobs School of Music, comes from classes to non-majors. So these are classes that are often general elective courses, things that people from the Kelley School of Business take or the College of Arts and Sciences take. And I wanted to give you just a little bit of a taste of what some of these courses look like. Courses, for example, the history of rock and roll, these are huge classes. We can't find the lecture halls big enough for them, essentially. Some of the other ones, music of Hendrix, Bob Dylan, those are a little smaller in scale, but yet this is a real opportunity for us to connect across the university. These classes are open to adult learners, by the way, and we often have people register for them. It's pretty cool when we have other folks who are not necessarily 18 to 22-year-olds taking these classes, because you remember that music in a way that the 18 to 22-year-olds do not. We also have a course that's fully online, taught by Connie Cook, which is on Leonard Bernstein. So Bernstein had a really strong relationship with the Jacobs School of Music in Bloomington. As he was writing some of his last work, he had just a major block. He couldn't get it written, his last opera, The Quiet Place. And so his agent called Charles Webb, the dean at the time, and said, hey, Bernstein needs a place to just go write. And Charles said, well, bring him to Bloomington. We've got a small condo I can put him in, and we'll make sure that he's taken care of. So he wrote his last major opera, The Quiet Place. Every night he would write, I'm told. And then the next morning he would bring what he wrote to school. And there would be a collection of students there to perform it and try it out, basically workshop it. And he spent a couple of weeks here. In addition to that, it was Bernstein that asked Charles Webb to send a group of students to Tanglewood to perform Bernstein's Mass in the 80s. And he had just a huge impact on the school during that time. We now have a number of things that were from his studio, his writing studio, as part of the Cook Music Library collection, like the couch. We have his briefcase. We've got, like, I don't know how many bottles of Afrin nose spray. We've got all of his, and they're all valued at $75 US, by the way, just so you know. We also have a collection of like dollar reading glasses and some other just weird paraphernalia of Bernstein's. But that connection continues. So when we do Candide or when we do any number of other things, his children often come to town. And so we like to think that he's part of our family, even though he was only ever really here for a couple weeks, but we still revere him very much. So Connie had the opportunity to produce this online class. It's open to everybody. It's $75, and it's an opportunity to hear from his kids, see things that are part of collections that maybe you wouldn't get to see otherwise. And it's just kind of a very cool class. You may also know we do a lot of jazz in this community. We have Monday night jazz concerts, but we also regularly have the faculty performing at the Blockhouse, the Vault, and also the Buzzkirk Chumley. We ask that you join us for those concerts. They're a lot of fun. This year, we've started doing concerts over at IU Health, over at the hospital, through what we call OWAHI, the Office of Wellness and Arts and Health Initiatives. So we've been partnering with IU Health to put music in the lobby there, not only for the guests, but also the families of the guests. And we've started a concert series. You'll see more about this in the semester ahead. We're excited to partner with those folks. And then, of course, the Fairview String Project. This is, again, Brenda Brenner's dream. It's over 20 years old. This is an opportunity for us to embed in Fairview Elementary and teach kids strings. It is remarkable what these children achieve. And as we look at longitudinal studies of people that have an opportunity to study music at a high level as children, they much more frequently go to college. They much more frequently are able to launch into careers. There's definitely something about brain development and music. And so Brenda has done extraordinary work at Fairview Elementary. And we've had generations of students then who have studied pedagogy basically through that program, who have now proliferated these kinds of things across the United States. And so this remains an exciting community project for us. Concerts at Meadowood, we've been trying to ramp these up. There'll be more of these for sure in the year ahead. It's a great opportunity for our students to see the impact that they have. I wanted to say a note about global partnerships. This is a portfolio that lives actually with me, and it's been something that I've been emphasizing since I've been here. I noted that, over 30% of our students are from across the globe. We, in the last year, have signed affiliation agreements, 2 in Bangkok, 1 in Singapore, 1 in China. We're partnering also with Tianjin Juilliard, which is the Juilliard campus in China. And we are talking to a number of other institutions. I think it's important if we have a global school for us to consider what that looks like in terms of partnering with certain organizations around the globe. I'm not interested in signing these agreements with everybody, but we have developed a few strategic partnerships where we're already seeing increased numbers of students and applications, but also increased philanthropy. We just are in the process of finalizing a $450,000 gift from Thailand. And we also are seeing some increased philanthropy from South Korea as well. And so that's why it's important for us, I think, to stay in touch and remain embedded in these places around the world. Little known fact, the former king of Thailand was a saxophone player and loved classical music. And as a result of that, he made it a law that every student K to 12 had to study classical music with a certified teacher in Thailand. In Thailand alone, there are 56 colleges and universities that have music education programs. Now, they haven't had the level of training that we have available to us in the United States. So I've sent a number of faculty there in the last year and a half, and we'll continue to do that. We are also having some of their faculty come work with us through the summer string program and in other ways. I am trying to figure out how we heighten the level of training in that part of the world so that we then become a gateway to the United States for folks from Bangkok in particular. Stay tuned. It's an investment, but I think it's an important investment in our future. I mentioned all of this. We can skip it. Okay, some important things coming up. You may all know Peter Burkholder, world-class musicologist. His major focus is on Ives. He's having like a 9 or 10-day festival around Charles Ives this fall. I encourage you all to take a look at what's going on with the Ives Festival. It's going to be quite extraordinary. People like Gil Kalish, Bill Baritone, whose last name I don't remember, is coming. Bill the Baritone. Among others. It's going to be a really great festival of the work of Charles Ives, which is Peter's main thrust of his research. We also are doing this very cool thing that I'm just learning more about called Amped Up. Jim Irsay's guitar collection is going to be over at the McCullough School all of next year. On September 27, mark your calendars. The IU guitar students are going to be playing, as will be our electric guitar orchestra. Yes, we have an electric guitar orchestra. We also have a mariachi ensemble. I bet you didn't know that. But his guitars are actually going to be there all year long, and there's also going to be a series of guitar concerts that are happening over there, chamber music concerts throughout the year. So look for that. I know this is literally all I know. You now have all the information I have, but I think this is going to be very cool for us. I also want to say that this past spring, yours truly, Elaine Barker, put together an incredible pop-up summit on how AI is impacting music and the arts. He did it in collaboration with Eskenazi and the Heron School at IUI, among others, the Maurer School of Law, Luddy. I probably have forgotten a couple. Sorry, Elaine. But he's doing it again this spring, end of March, I think 27, 28, 28, 29, right in there. I could not be more excited about the direction this pushes the Jacobs School in as a thought leader for what's happening in music and technology at the cutting edge. And so I'm grateful for Elaine for doing this. So please come spend a little time with us. This will be very cool. And then, of course, there's the opera and ballet season. You might not know that to do French opera at its highest level, you also have to have a corps de ballet. Hence the reason why the Jacobs School has ballet embedded in it. We can't do opera in the way it should be done without that. So we now do 6 fully staged operas and 3 ballet performances each year. Of course, one of which is the Nutcracker. We did just revise our Nutcracker production last year. This year, we're going to be filming it in collaboration with WTIU for national distribution through PBS in the winter of 2025. So you may see some television cameras this year when you come to the Nutcracker, but it's so that we can share that more broadly with the world. I also want to point out the pop-up opera. I'm not sure I can tell you what it is at this point, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It is Die Fledermaus by Richard Strauss. So please mark your calendar for that. It's going to be really awesome. It's going to be a big party, basically, as that opera is. But then the other one I want to point to is The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, with the person who's falling there. That is a partnership we have with the Metropolitan Opera in New York. When Bain developed the MAC, he developed the stage to be the same exact size as the Metropolitan Opera at Lincoln Center, but also have the same functionality so that our students could walk onto that stage and feel at home. And so this year we have the opportunity to welcome the Met to Bloomington. They're bringing this world premiere production that we will be the first to actualize. And it's based on a brand new opera by Mason Bates, who wrote The Revolution of Steve Jobs, which some of you may have seen when it was also in its premiere or very close to its premiere here a few years ago. I'm talking more to Peter Gelb at the Met. It looks like there'll be more of this to come. We're about to be able to announce a second one for the next season. And we're actually having a conversation about a third one in the year ahead as well. This is an incredible opportunity for our students to work with world-class directors and conductors and have coaches here, hearing them, getting to know them, and hopefully that turns into real work for our students. Jacobs at the Movies. I can't tell you what it is, but it's great. So please buy your tickets. Keep in mind, everybody on the leadership team is a Gen Xer these days, and so we're kind of picking a lot of those sort of Gen X sorts of titles. And so, but it's going to be really fun. Last year, of course, was E.T., and before that, we did Back to the Future. You know, all the great shows from my childhood. So I hope you'll join us for that. All right, I'll be quiet. And we have, I think, a little time for questions from you.
Dean Bush, I was curious on Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Why those countries? How did you
Yes.
select those?
It's a great question. About 5 or 6 years ago, a donor came to us to say that they were doing some work in that part of the world, and they were interested in providing music instruction. And they built for us a remote teaching studio pre-pandemic. And we were just trying to figure out kind of how we would do this. So they allowed us to play, and they allowed us to figure out how to teach remotely. This was never more important than in March of 2020, then, when the world shut down. The Jacobs School of Music had already been in this space of remote learning for applied music instruction. It took a few years then to get past the pandemic for us to go back to those same donors and say, okay, now we want to roll this out more within the state of Indiana, because there's definitely need here too. And we owe it as the flagship school of music in the state to work in that way. And so they continue to support a lot of what we do. They continue to purchase equipment for us and provide spaces for us to do this work. And so as a result of that, then we're better able to teach the kids in Indiana. Yeah.
My question is simple. How does one find out what's going on at the Jacobs School during the year?
It's a great question, Charlotte. How does one find out what's going on? There is a website called, if you just Google calendar and Jacobs, you will find it, and all of the concerts are listed there. In addition to that, if you Google opera and ballet and Jacobs, you'll find the season itself. Now, these are the ones we sell tickets to, that opera and, can I go back, Tyler? He'll get back to those, but those are the ones, those are the only ones we really sell tickets to. Everything else is just free and open to the public.
This is meant to be a very friendly question because I enjoy so much of the Jacobs School of Music. However, in previous summers, we had opera and we also had band concerts on the lawn of the MAC. Any chance they could come back during this very dull summer when we don't have anything else to interest us?
I hear you completely. And I actually am very sorry that that has sort of disappeared. There was a period of time in which our faculty stayed here in the summers. And as a result, students stayed because they wanted to study with those faculty members. Now we are in a world in which we are actually encouraging faculty to go teach at Aspen Music Festival or Chautauqua or name your summer music festival, right? And what ends up happening then is that they connect with students in those places and bring them back for recruiting purposes. As a result, we can no longer field an orchestra. We don't have the students here. They don't stick around. We continue to have a choir that we've been able to do. The band, we don't have the right instrumentation to make it happen. Students are just going away in the summers. I would love to get back to that. We've talked a little bit internally about how we might rebuild some of that. You might note that there is more attention now on some of the chamber music going on in the summer string seminar, and the Pacifica Quartet plays usually every summer. So those activities are still happening, but once the students bolt, we can't then produce those kinds of opportunities. So I definitely think it's a change in student behavior from the decades prior. And I think it's a loss to this community. I really do. We continue to try to figure it out, but we've not had success at it yet. You're welcome.
Raj, we had a question online. You want to unmute?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Abra, for visiting us today. My name is Raj Haddawi. I would like you to explain to our member the role of the Society of the Friend of Music in supporting our student scholarship.
You would like me to do that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So the Society of the Friends of Music, I think they're entering their 60th year. If any of you in this room correct me, I'm okay with that. I think they're entering their 60th year. They have literally provided millions of dollars worth of scholarship support to the Jacobs School of Music students. It's a group that meets together periodically, Raj, every quarter or so. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yep. And they are interested in raising money for student scholarships. We are spending a bit of this academic year focusing on them and celebrating their 60th anniversary. And they are a delightful group. All are welcome. It is just an opportunity for folks who love music and the arts to support the work of our students every day. And that money goes directly to student scholarship support. So thanks, Raj. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today. I was wondering if you could tell us what your favorite song is right now.
Oh my God. So there's a little thing about musicians that you may not know, and that is that we don't often listen to music because it's work. You know, I don't always listen to music for pleasure. Now, I will say this. I downloaded Michel Ndegeocello's latest record, which just dropped, I think, Friday, and listened to that on the plane on my way home last weekend. I didn't love it. I liked her record from like 1992 much better because it's much funkier. But I'm much more apt to listen to something like that than I am something kind of classical in nature. I do listen to a lot of jazz. I'm a big jazz fan. But if I'm listening to jazz, I'm not necessarily listening to a particular piece. I'm listening to more like an album or a kind of a genre within jazz. I'm really interested in where jazz meets hip hop. And jazz in general, you know, is sort of this like articulation of Western classical virtuosity and music of the African American diaspora. And I find that when things articulate like that, they're much more exciting to me. So jazz and hip hop, or Western classical virtuosity and African American diaspora. To me, that's way more exciting. I can listen to Brahms at work. And I do.
Thank you so much for the program. Very informative. Speaking of jazz, one of your professors, assistant professors, I believe, Natalie Boyank.
Natalie Boyank.
Yeah, well, she got here, what, a year or so ago?
Yes.
And became my neighbor. So a very, very
Good.
nice addition to our neighborhood. And I
Good.
can only imagine how good of teacher she is.
Yeah.
But my question had to do with your general studies programming.
Mhm.
I mean, I noticed there was nothing there for, say, gospel, the
Yeah.
history of gospel,
Yeah.
or hip hop history.
You're right.
Or is that in another
It is.
area in the university?
Yeah.
Can you speak on that? Thank you.
Yeah, there are some very weird ways in which this university developed, and many of us that come in from the outside sort of scratch our heads and say, what happened here, right? So one of the cases in point is that the ethnomusicology department lives in the college, not in the music school, which traditionally an ethnomusicology program would live in a music school alongside musicology or the history of music. But apparently the former chair of that department and Wilfred Bain got in a fight somewhere in the 50s, and they packed their bags and they left for the college. So they reside over there, and it's just weird, right? That's strange. The AAAI, the African American Arts Institute, has the corner market on all things related to the African American musical diaspora. So hip hop, jazz, gospel, right? Now we are working more and more closely with them all the time. Raymond Wise, who's the African-American choral guy, was just appointed the head of the AAAI, and he is partnering with us and the gospel choir on that next Metropolitan Opera premiere that I kind of hinted at. So we're trying to partner more and more. I actually think it's a relic. I think the way that this is divided is a relic of a time in which there wasn't as much respect for some of those other kinds of traditions. And we live in a different world today. And I think we owe it to our students to make sure they have good, strong connections with and opportunities to take classes like that and learn more about those kinds of arts. So I spend part of my time trying to beat down the walls and figure out how we can come together for the sake of students, because it's absolutely the right thing to do in this environment.
Dr. Ray Wise is going to be here in September to talk to us.
Oh, you guys, he's amazing. He's so much more dynamic than me. You are gonna love him. You're gonna be like, who is that girl? Forget her. He's awesome. Good.
Oh, Shelley.
Hi. Thank you so much, Dean Bush, for your presentation today. I really appreciate it. I, as a former graduate of the music school before it was called Jacobs, I have a question today about hearing loss in particular, and what Jacobs is doing for the hearing impaired. I myself have a severe hearing loss and I have hearing aids, but one of the things that hearing aids do is they are very good at music, but speech is so much more difficult. And I attend many, many concerts at the Jacob School and have for years, of course. And I find that many of the speakers, the people who are speaking before the concert starts, especially at our hall, I'm assuming the majority of people that are there cannot hear the person speaking, especially when they're older. And so I would really like to see, of course, I love all the programs that you're doing and everything, but my main question is, what are you doing in regards to being more progressive about things like, hearing impaired and things like that?
You know, Shelley, it's an amazingly good question. And I don't have terrific answers for you today. And I'm ashamed to say that. We spend a lot of time thinking about the hearing conservation of our students.
Right.
We do make sure that we have earplugs available to them. We're in the process of purchasing new plexiglass mitigation systems, essentially, for students. We have like cubes that the jazz percussionists play in, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I know that there's a loop system in the MAC. I don't think there is anything in our hall, but you know what? I'm going to go back and ask that question. We have a new assistant dean for artistic operations who's going to be overseeing all of that. I'll put it on my list for him and make sure he's aware of the concern. Really, thank you for raising it.
Oh, great. And I'm happy to help. So, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I do want to thank you and the school for the diversity of the program that has been evolving over the past few years. I'm old school and I was extremely reluctant about Jacobs at the movies. It's the most fun thing in the whole world. I'm saying this because everyone in this room should go. And it's halfway through the movie and you realize that every sound effect is coming from the orchestra. It is mind-blowing. I want to thank you for Ina DeMar, and which was stunning.
Yeah.
And keeping old, keeping new, and making something accessible to everyone. So please don't say I don't like opera. Try it. It's not what you think, or it might be what you think. I don't know, but try it.
I think one of the coolest parts about my job is that the Jacobs School of Music has one of the strongest foundations of any American music school. And the work that's done here every single day by the students and the faculty and the staff is just extraordinary. So part of what I have sort of held as my North Star in this work is that in order to innovate with any kind of integrity, you have to have one foot firmly planted in the past. We have to continue to teach our students Mozart and Brahms and Beethoven and all of the traditional arts, right? We still want to make sure there's a historical performance program. We need to make sure that all of that remains in place. But if you do that well, you then have an opportunity to do some things that are a little bit more quirky, a little bit more creative, again, at the intersection of different kinds of musics or dance styles, and do it with integrity. And that, I think we can do that at a place like the Jacobs School of Music in ways that many of our peers across the sector simply cannot do. And so you're right, being able to do things like Ina DeMar, being able to do La Bayadere, the ballet that got turned on its head last year, which was very cool. Though some of the really special work that you will only see in Bloomington. Professional companies aren't doing this because they're too busy worrying about ticket sales, but we have an opportunity to be more inventive and creative. And you have a gem here that I hope you will all just come spend time with us throughout the course of the next year. I think I'm getting the hook, friends. I think that's what this is. Thank you so much. It's been a real honor. Thanks.
I was never accused of being subtle. Dean Bush, we want to say thank you. Jacobs continues to be one of the proudest things that we all boast about when we think of Bloomington. It's also one of the reasons many of us come back in our bloomerangs. In honor of your program, we will be making a donation to New Leaf, New Life of $100 for the quarter. So thank you. As we all know, we don't get through the program without the help of you, all of you. So thank you, Natalie, for the assistant work that you do for us as executive assistant. Our greeter, Peggy Frisbee, thank you so much for greeting everyone. Winston Schindel, I started to say Dad. Thank you for the introductions. Leslie, thanks for hosting Zoom. And Joy, it's nice to have you here in person, by the way. And then Sarah, thank you for stepping up and helping out Glinda. We really appreciate your reflection as we learn more about what Rotary has done. Bill Perkins, thank you for taking on the job of reporter. It's the toughest one out there. Michael, as always, thank you for the mic and camera operation. And Tyler, of course, you're amazing. So with that, first of all, and Henry, I totally skipped you. I'm sorry. Thank you for the introduction and what a wonderful program. Did everybody enjoy parking today? Yeah, well, I have a little joke for you. What do you do when you're on campus and you see a spaceman? You park, man. So guess what? Next week they're back, and you will have a hard time finding parking. So you may want to try the Henderson lot or Atwater. And on that note, we will have our club assembly. We'll be reviewing the Bloomington Rotary Foundation. We'll talk about the toast that's upcoming, our Bloomington, the Rotary International Foundation, and then the Family Fun and Fellowship. So look forward to that. And with that, Tyler, if we could have the screen and if everybody could stand of the thing for the four-way test of the things you think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?